go ahead and start with the some additional layers. So that was my first layer, and that was all Cray Expressionist. So now we're going to get into the rest of my set here. So I'm going to start pulling colors out, and so this is a dark gray. It looks black, but that is my darkest gray, and it's going to be my darkest value. So there's that. I know I'm going to use this blue. That's like a Prussian or sapphire blue. We use this kind of a chocolate brown with gray in it. That's a good one to use. We use this green. These are all kind of earth tone colors here at the moment. Different kind of gray. Get some different grays out here. And then it's a brown and then a dark brown. You can see the different colors I'm going for. And then let's see, a little bit of an ochre. Do a little bit of that, maybe some of this. It's a different kind of ochre. And then like this khaki gray color. I like to call it khaki. It's kind of just a warm gray. So let's just start with that. Oh, let's get some sky. So we do have some blue, some light blue, and then a very light gray. That's going to help me get some blue. Couple little ones out of there. I think that's good for that. And we're going to dive into these colors. I'm just kind of pulling a couple ones out that I'm pretty sure I'm going to use here. We're going to use this green. So let's start with that. Okay, so I have my base, my first layer, kind of my base image here. What next, right? Where are we going to go next? Well, let's start defining some more darks, some more lights. Okay, so I'm going to take this blue. This is going to act as a dark. And I'm going to kind of get in this little path here a little bit more. I'm just going to take this blue. I'm just going to go right over it. And just see what it looks like. And if it's not dark enough, which it's not, that blue is actually lighter than the brown. We're going to have to come in with it a little bit darker color here, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this out with the blue. I'm just kind of defining that path, where that little path is going to be. And we're just going to use this Prussian blue at the moment. And it's just not dark enough for what I'm needing. I need a darker value than this. Let's try it up here. Sometimes when you do the blue on the brown, you get some nice dark value going. But this particular blue is too light. So I'm gonna have to come in a little darker here, but I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of get in here some various spots. I'm kind of just very lightly scrubbing it in and then taking my finger and just kind of smearing it very subtly, very light. I come a little bit of color and then I just kind of rub it and smear it a little bit with my finger. And what I'm going for is I'm going for the dark parts of this little cliff. So I'm going for this little area right here. See the dark areas? That's what I'm kind of getting at with this blue at this moment. And I know I need to go darker, but this blue will just kind of help me visually to see it. Right, and then back behind the waterfall, just kind of a shadow. Kind of comes down. Okay. Let's take some of this blue and actually use it in the water. I'm just going to go right across the water with it. This is so now we're working on the second layer in the water. Defining shadows. Nice water surface there. Now this is a Mungyo stick. This is made by Mungyo Gallery Soft Oil Pastel. So it's an oil pastel made by a company called Mungyo, Mungyo. And I usually get these off Jerry's Artoramas where I can find the open stock. It's a good brand. It's inexpensive, but yet it's quality. So you get good coverage, nice variety of colors, great for landscapes, and they're not expensive. They're not like the Senneliers or the Neopastels. They're pretty affordable, but it's a good quality brand. Okay, so we got some blue going on down there in various spots. All right, so let's take my darker gray, my darkest gray, and that looks black, but is gray, and this is a Neopastel. All right, so we're gonna reinforce some of the dark parts with this dark gray here. Specifically that little trail that kind of comes behind the waterfall. And right underneath this top ledge here, it's definitely darker. You can see how I'm just kind of rubbing that in. Trying to create a natural rocky cliff face. So it's just very kind of random, jagged little marks. Try to recreate the look of rock. You know, like basically this is like a little cliff that this waterfall kind of carved out. So I'm kind of getting that nice dark values in there. A little bit more detail on the rock face. Just very random, trying to be organic, you know? It's not so, so it's very random. Okay, and I need darker down in here where the cliff meets the water. It creates this edge here that's darker, so it helps define where that water edge is going to be. here underneath the tree, the canopy of the tree here, it definitely is darker. So the surface is really slick. I've got a lot of oil on it. But you can see how the color just goes right on top, and that's because I'm using a softer oil pastel now. So the Mungyo and the Neopastel, and of course the Senneliers, they're just softer than the Cray. And so when you use soft over a hard, it's easier to get that down. And that's the reason why I went with the Cray to begin with, is because I knew I was going to need some layers. And so I start with a hard consistency oil pastel and then work my way softer as I work through it. There's just random spots where I'm gonna put in this dark. That tree is gonna be, and then we do see some sort of trunks or branches kind of within the tree itself. So I'm going to use the same dark to kind of help me indicate some of that a little bit. And this is going to get a lot of layers. So this is just kind of the first indication of the kind of the tree trunk, branches and things. Kind of sneak those in there here in different spots. It's starting to look like a little cliffside, isn't it? It's starting to take shape here. Okay. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just putting the darks, and what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of matching the darks that I see in the picture. And I use this dark gray for that. All right, so now let's bring in some lights. So let's put the dark one down, and let's try a lighter gray. Let's try this one. I believe this is a Mungyo. Okay, I'm going to bring some of the light. You can see some of the light areas of this cliff here. I'm just going to bring some of those out just a little bit. Just right over the top of that brown. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the surface. It's very light application here. Just kind of random. I want to get an indication of that right here. You can see just using that gray for that part. This is just a regular, just a regular medium gray from the Mungyo brand. I'm just kind of lightly feathering that in certain spots. Trying to get a rock face going here. It's just very, very random. It's an impression of rock and cliffs. Okay, there's a little bit right here. Different spots. It's a different kind of rock, I guess. Down here at the water's edge here, we have some more rock down in there. Okay. There we go. So you can see the contrast of these colors, how they're starting to play with each other. All right, let's bring back this dark gray here. And I'm just gonna reinforce. I could use black, right? And that would be my very darkest, but it might be too dark. And so I don't tend to use black a lot at all, actually. I just find it's just too dark sometimes. I use black more like on like portraits, or like still lifes or portraits, but on landscapes, on scenery, I find that the black is just too strong. Just random, just kind of trying to create natural looking cliff here. There's that dark. All right, and then the water, now I had that blue down here, so I'm gonna try to bring some green, because I noticed in the water here, I see a lot of green. And it's reflecting the green around it in the water, so I'm gonna bring a little green to the water. And this is a nice, nice cool green to work with. It's not a warm green, it's a good cool shade green. That nice deep emerald color that I'm seeing here in the water. There we go. Looks pretty good. And we're gonna blend that out a little bit, but for right now that looks nice. Really pretty deep green color there. And then let's see, now I'm gonna bring a pink, a light lavender, different lavenders. Excuse me, got the hiccups. Yeah, this pink, maybe this chocolate gray. Let's see what that chocolate gray looks like up in here. So it's lighter. It's a pretty nice light color, but Let's see what that looks like, just kind of random areas. This is that chocolate gray. It's like a chocolate brown color, like milk chocolate, but it's got gray in it. So I call it my chocolate gray. I kind of rename the colors. They do have, like, you know, they have the official names, but I never really go by that. I kind of just kind of rename them. Because I take the papers off, so I kind of forget the name of the color. All right, so I end up just renaming them. And I know that doesn't help you, but that's okay. That's just the way I work, I guess. All right, so a little bit of chocolate gray. And I'm gonna bring some more of that dark in there. Darkest value. So this pastel board is interesting to work with. It's smooth, but yet it can take layers, a lot of layers. And I haven't used fixative yet, and I have a ton of oil on the surface. But this pastel board is like magic. You can just keep going. Get my dark values going. There we go. Oop. I dropped it. There it is. I drop stuff all the time. Okay. Starting to see it's starting to look natural looking now. I'm just kind of random putting in that dark stuff in there. Okay. All right. Let's look at our picture. 3 o'clock. All right. So this water here, I'm gonna blend this out real quick. Just make sure the water is. I'm just gonna find a stump, and this one will do fine. I'm just gonna blend. So I have that green and that blue kind of together down in here. And notice how I'm blending. I'm just doing this horizontal motion. This will be the shadows of from the light. There'll be some shadows here in the water. That horizontal motion. You can even use your fingers. Sometimes the fingers are easier. And there's some shadows in this part of the water. So really important when you're creating water is that the water has to lay flat. It can't be sloping off to one side. And so it helps to render it horizontally flat while you're trying to recreate water. It's really dark in here. The picture, can't see a lot of details in this area because the picture is just so dark. So a little bit of imagination here, what that would look like. I like working from imagination sometimes, and then you kind of stop looking at the picture and just you just kind of see it in your head a little bit, what it would look like. And also because I've been on this hike and it's still fresh in my memory. Okay. I'm just really working that water layer. And just go back over it all. Let's keep going back over it. Okay. Let's take it back. Nice. Nice deep water. That's what I was looking for. Good. Okay, and then we got the tree over here. I'm not gonna do much with that. Just kind of leave that alone for right now. Just kind of smear it a little bit. And then the cliff here, I'm not gonna really blend a lot, because if I blend it, I'm gonna get rid of that dark. I don't want to get rid of the dark. I need it to stay dark. So when you blend, you change the color. You can either dull it out or make it darker when you start blending. So you just got to know when to blend and when not to. And so I'm kind of blending some parts and some parts I'm not. So I'm trying to make it random. Sometimes with your fingers, you can just lightly smudge things. There we go. Okay, you can see my fingers are getting dirty. So let's go and clean those off. So these wipes, these Clorox disinfecting wipes, are perfect for cleaning hands and cleaning oil pastel sticks. It's an alcohol-based wipe, so it cuts through the oil really easily. I got some baby wipes, but they weren't alcohol-based. They were just water, and it didn't work at all. But these Clorox ones do the trick. They just kind of dry your hands out a little bit, so. All right, let's keep going. Let's work up here in the sky. Up in here, you can see the sky in the picture is really light. It's almost like a light blue, light gray almost. All right, so we're gonna start with this sky blue. This is made by Mungyo. This is the Mungyo stick. And I call it my sky blue because that's where I use it most often, is in the skies. But we're gonna go ahead and reinforce that sky up here. You can see how much brighter it is. Just gonna get that in there. gets dirty quick, so I'm always kind of switching it to try to find a clean edge. Get that in. There'll be some trees in here, so I don't have to cover up the whole area. Okay. You can see how I'm cutting into where the trees are going to be with this sky color. And keep going over here. Now it's a nice warm day in Portland, so it's really creamy. These colors are just really creamy and soft, and everything's just flowing really nicely right now. Colder days, it's I gotta use a little bit more oil or a little bit more blending, but nice warm days, it's just so easy. Okay, there's that blue. You can see where the trees will be. Okay, now we're going to take a light gray. I believe that's a Mungyo. And we're just going to go right over the top of that blue with it. Just kind of tone the blue down and make it lighter. I want a nice light sky back here. I don't want a really deep blue color. It's more faded out. I'm just taking this gray, which is a really light gray. It almost looks a little white. It's not white, it's just a light gray. It's got a little blue tint in it. I'm just going right over the top of this sky blue with it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so these two colors here, this blue and this light gray here I was using. Now we're going to use this green. And this is a Mungyo value, and this is my green gray. I call it my green gray because it's green and it's gray. So I call it my green gray. Alright, so I'm going to get in these trees here with it. The trees kind of, you do this horizontal kind of motion. Like this. I get some trees in there. Try to keep my camera on here as I work. That's the challenge. So you guys can see what I'm doing. Making trees. Let's put one right here. Okay, you guys get the idea how to do the trees. Basically, you kind of create a trunk. You just kind of go vertical, and then you just kind of do these horizontal dashing all the way down it. And it gets wider as it gets towards the base of the tree. You kind of create this kind of this pyramid, like triangle type shape. And you just keep going, and you just try to make them different so they're random, so they all don't look the same so much. Right? You want some different looking trees. Sometimes you can lean them, like I just leaned that one to the right, and it adds some interest, so they're not all vertically straight up and down. You have some that are leaning in different directions here. See how that works? So we got a big one right here, kind of by itself. There's the trunk. Okay, and then you just kind of create these little branches or indication of the branch of the tree itself. And leave some sky in there so the sky can poke through. Let's put one back in here. And distant ones back in there. We'll leave that space open, just like it shows here in the picture. There's this open space. Open space. And then trees again. You can see how random I am. I'm just very, I'm not so controlled with it. I'm very kind of just loose. I think that helps to be loose with it rather than be so tight and controlled. That just takes getting used to. I think in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you just want to control everything. But after a while, it's better just to loosen up. All right. See, I'm getting this trees here. Step back and take a look at it. You can see why I like this green gray a lot, because it's a green, but it's got so much gray in it that it pushes back, right? So I know that this tree here is closer than these trees, and so the green I'm going to use here is going to be a lot more brighter and stronger, where this green kind of fades out and helps push back. That's why I like this green a lot. It's good for distant stuff, distant trees, distant hills or mountains. It's just good to have a lot of different greens at your disposal to get the different effects that you're trying to get. Okay, so there's that. and show you the difference of what it looks like down here. You can see how light it looks right here compared to all the other colors around it. And up here, it's the same color, but it looks darker up here. You can see the difference there, but we'll put a little bit down in here, just a little. It almost looks more of a grayer color than a green color down in here. Okay, there's that color. Okay, let's take a look here. So this green, this is that dark green that I put in the water. I'm going to put some up here and the cliff side here. Just a little, not too much. Just a little bit. There's a lot of plants in here from all the spray from the waterfall. This area is just really green, a lot of moss and things. Right. And I'm going to take this blue and I'm going to cut right behind where the water falls. You can see where the water falls, okay? Behind it, I'm going to put this blue in to give a sense of separation. To give a sense that the waterfall is, the water here is closer to us and the cliff kind of pushes back a little. So I'm going to bring a little bit of this blue here right behind the fall. And that's going to help us give us that separation, almost a sense of a shadow from the waterfall itself. So I step back, you should be able to see what I'm talking about here if you don't see it already. You can see that blue and what it does there. It kind of separates that waterfall from the cliff. Okay. I'm kind of smear that around a little bit. Don't want to put too much blue, but just enough to help me with that. There we go. There's that dark gray here again. I'm going to come back up here again. You notice I always come back to the dark, so I'll put some color down, look at it, and then readjust values or add more dark or add more light. And it's just this constant back and forth of readjusting values. It's basically how I work. So you lay color down, you find the value, then you lay more color down, then you readjust your values. And that's just kind of how I roll. You know, different marks, some are vertical, some are horizontal, just very random. Try not to look at the reference picture too much. That helps you just be free with it. It helps you just not be so tied to the picture, not to be so controlled by it. You want to kind of be free with it. Okay. Right. So let's bring some ochre, and this is a Mungyo ochre. I got a lot of different ochres. You can see this is my ochre rack. So I got my pale yellows, oranges, and ochres in various earth ochre colors. It's good to have a variety of colors at your disposal. If you can do it, I recommend it. The more colors, the better. It gives you more options, a little bit more variety. Allows you to mix different colors. So right at the edge where the light's just kind of going right over this edge, I'm going to get this ochre in. Indicate that there's some backlight coming this way. And it's just peeking past that edge. See that? So it's the ochre. And then I'm going to go a step further and use one of these pinks. It's like a salmon pink color. This is a Neopastel. Okay, it's a nice warm pink. I like to call it salmon. That's kind of the color it reminds me of. Kind of a hot pink, hot salmon color. Get that in certain areas. See my water's coming right here. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and get the waterfall, or at least start it. And I'm going to use a lavender for that. I'm going to start with a lavender. And just kind of get this waterfall started. I'm just going to streak the lavender through it. Excuse me. And all the way down. And as it gets towards the bottom here, it kind of spreads out a little. So water's kind of more separated here towards the bottom. It gets just a little bit more separated. So the water kind of spreads a little bit more. It's a little bit more controlled right at the top. Here. All the way to the surface of the water where it hits right here and creates this little splash. See that? So I'm just using this lavender. I'm going to go over it again. Very light, very organic with it. There's that water splash down there. Okay. You see the waterfall. A little splash down in there. Create a little bit of rippling in the water. Just use this lavender for that. A little bit of movement there. Okay. And also I'm going to use this lavender to try to indicate a little bit of a shoreline of the water against the rock face. You can see how I'm just lightly just